Everyone, welcome to Daily News Analysis session. Today is 4th July 2026. So we have three major stories today. The first one, that is 250th birth anniversary of the nation United States of America. So obviously this is quite a big development, and you can expect a question in the upcoming mains in world history. So some basic aspects of American Revolution we are going to cover. Then two very important viewpoints which helps us understand the recent developments or recent positioning of America in West Asia and Indo-Pacific and in broader context. Two viewpoints, especially two editorials, one from C. Mohan and the another from Pratap Mehta. So very important writers, and both these, what the writers are interpreting this current development or this current situation of USA stepping into the 250th year. These two we are going to see, and what are their ideas on what are the upcoming challenges and ongoing situation, how the world is going to interpret how the world evolution in the upcoming future. They are going to interpret all this basic information you get from the views of these writers. So this is the first story we are going to discuss. Second, we have a real issue related to National New Education Policy 2020 and implementation of this, and how the strict implementation of three-language formula, how this is going to create a problem in the upcoming future, and what are the current challenges and what are the broader aspects related to this. This we are going to discuss in the second article. Third, we have an environmental related article, that is restoring India's tiger reserves. Here, see, if you broadly see India's tiger conservation plan, we have been highly successful from around 1400 in 2006. Currently, we have 3,800 plus. So this is a huge development. We already have achieved the TX2 target, which was set in 2010. So the numbers looks very promising and very great. But there are some concerns beyond these numbers. There are certain issues in the patterns of growth in tigers or patterns of conservation that is happening throughout the country. So what are these issues and what is the roadmap to tackle this ahead? All this we'll be discussing in the third article. So these three will be our primary focus in today's discussion. Let's get started. The first article, USA at 250, how a revolution built a nation. Again, July 4, 2026 marks exact 250 years since US Declaration of Independence was adopted in 1776. Again, when we have a world history perspective to this, if a question comes, it will be something related to American Revolution and how you interpret American Revolution. Like any other revolution, be it a Renaissance revolutions in India, or be it a French Revolution, or be it any other recent revolution. It doesn't happen one day morning. It happens through a sequence of events. It happens through a continuous interplay of factors. So what are the underlying factors behind this American Revolution in 1776? The most important factor, the economic exploitation. You can more specifically speak about the mercantilism policy of British. If you can connect with India, we also had gone through the same mercantilism policy under British. Roughly in India, it is a period from 1757 where British got these Diwani rights and all from 1964-57 from this period to 1813. So this period is roughly called as mercantilism period. What actually happens in this period? That is the transformation of colony from supplier to supplier of raw materials and importer of finished goods. How this is achieved? By biased taxation, by trade controls. Like India cannot trade with other colonies, other European powers, and there will be taxation, huge taxation on export of finished goods from India, especially the cotton goods to Europe, whereas the import of finished goods from Europe to India will be fairly at a very nominal rate. So this is how it is being implemented, these biased trade policies, through which the core idea, if you look at this, what is the core idea behind mercantilism? We have two countries. One is the parent country, that is Britain, and we have colonies, which can be India, and which can be US, which can be African countries. So what is the core idea? Is the colonies exist for what? Colonies exist for the benefit of the Britain. That was the British imperialist perspective. And the reflection of this idea is in trade, in economics. That is what is mercantilism. So in American Revolution context, America was similarly placed during the time, and the core reason for American Revolution is the protest against these mercantilism policies. That is the most important aspect. Second, war debt. War debt, especially the 7-year war from 1756 to 63. From which all countries involved? Britain in one side and French. And this 7-year war, if you can recollect, this is happening even though the war is between Britain and France. This was being fought throughout the world, throughout in Africa, in India, in US, and throughout the world. In India, we had this. During the time, we had this Carnatic wars. If I remember correctly, it was third Carnatic war that was happening during this time. So this war has resulted in huge debt for British government. And what was the response of the British government after the war? They wanted to recollect, or they wanted colonies to repay this debt. And for that, they increased the taxes. And this again led to rows of miseries in the colonies, including USA, including India. And it was then the US traders, US merchant class, they have realized that their profits or their spirit of entrepreneurship, that is limited not by the market forces, but by the state, or but by their relation with the British. For example, the US traders were not allowed to trade with any other European powers. They were not allowed to import many goods except from Europe. They were not allowed to trade in ships other than that of Britain. So all these extra commitments due to the relationship with the Britain, that is what they are blocking their capacity, economic capacity, or the entrepreneurship capacity. So this realization again led to the core forces behind American Revolution. Going ahead, no taxation without representation. The famous quote, even in India, you can see this reflection in 1893 reforms, the lead up to these reforms. We also adopted this particular slogan, no taxation without representation. What it essentially means is the same thing, like in British Parliament, which makes the decision of taxation in colonies and other factors associated with the colonies. All these decisions have been taken unilaterally by the British Parliament, and there is no voice for colonies or representing colonies in this British Parliament. So this again seems like a biased system where the grunt is being faced by the colonies, whereas their grievances can never be reached the British Parliament, which makes the ultimate decisions. So it has been rightly summed up in this slogan, no taxation without representation. Clashing of the concepts of empire. Again, this is exactly related to this concept of Britain and colonies and how should be their relationships. See, in USA, what was the difference was, who were the inhabitants of USA, especially who were the people who were fighting in the American Revolution? They were not the local inhabitants or red Indians in USA. It was the settlers who has moved from Europe to these countries. So these settlers doesn't see Britain as this white man burdens theory. They doesn't believe in these kind of theories. So for them, they need an equal consideration as that of a British Parliament, British citizen. So they stand for equality. Whereas for Britain, these colonies, including America, was some piece of land that exists for the benefit of Britain, not for equal standing. So these two ideas again has been conflict, which can see at different layers during American Revolution. Ideological awakening, again, American Revolution can be termed as an ultimatum of a lot of recent developments that has happened throughout history, like from Renaissance spirit, from questioning of the church to the development of individualism or human pursuit of happiness. All these, the Renaissance ideas that has been evolving in the society for, say, 200, 150 years before American Revolution has culminated into a structural form after the American Revolution. So this is all the major factors that led to the revolution. Now, what are some of the key incidents? You can write about tax acts, including the Stamp Act, the Sugar Act, etc. Then Townshend Act, which was in response to the protest against these acts. Boston Massacre, this was the first violence related to American independence or American Revolution. Boston Tea Party, this was against a protest against the act, where the people just throw the around 400 plus say drums of Boston by faking them as Red Indians entered the ship and put all this tea into the Boston port or Boston harbor. So this was Boston Tea Party, and after this, Britain has like reacted very strongly through intolerable acts by closing the Boston port and restricting the trade from through other ships and placing more limits on the trade or economic rights of Americans. Then this further led to armed conflicts. There were 2-3 armed conflicts. If you can list it, is great. And in the end, it resulted in the culmination of Declaration of Independence in 1776. And its 250th anniversary is today, that is July 4, 2026. Now, but the sequence of American Revolution, it doesn't yet enter there. It moved till 1783, where by the Treaty of Paris, Britain accepted America as a separate country. So this is key timeline of what exactly happened during American Revolution. Going ahead, even though we speak great of American Revolution, there are two things you need to understand. One is the legacy of American Revolution. So this is also discussed a little bit in Pratap Bhanu Mehta's articles, which speaks about the country of America may disintegrate or may not exist in the future. But the spirit of Americanism, or the spirit that brought into the world through American Revolution, that is never going to end. So what is that uncompromisable or unremovable consequences of American Revolution? The first greatest contribution is first written constitution. It's not just about constitution. It was the first time we were speaking legally about the inalienable rights of men. Inalienable rights of men. You take the Indian Constitution, the fundamental rights in Indian Constitution, it's also inspired from the same Bill of Rights that was passed in 1776 in America. So this is the first time we are speaking like who should be ruled. Again, the concept of popular sovereignty, that is who people are being ruled by the king or rulers. Now, what is the right for the king or the rulers to rule of the people? Earlier, the idea was divine right. In medieval times, we have seen different kings adopting the divine authority given to them by the god, and due to this authority, they are being the rulers. But this divine concept has been completely been shattered by social contract. Social contract is only because people agreed to be ruled by these rulers, and that is the only reason they are being ruled by these XYZ people, not because of divinity or not because of a superpower or supernatural power or supernatural abilities of the people who are rulers. So this idea of popular republic idea, the idea of constitutionalism, the idea of natural justice, the idea of inseparable rights of man, all this for the first time form into a structured format after the American Revolution. Institutionalized rights, global inspiration, like it has inspired the anti-colonial movements throughout the world, including in African countries, including in institutionalization of in Japan, including Indian freedom movement, and so on and so forth. So there has been a continuing legacy of American Revolution, which the benefits still we enjoy today. Being said, that's not the complete part of it. There are some critical aspects to this. The American Revolution, even though we praise the equality or the rights it has put forward, but there was so much of backslides to this. The most important one was the paradox of slavery. Even though it speaks great about equality of men, the men only include white men. The blacks in America were still considered slaves, and they got freedom much later after this period of, forgot his name. Yeah, let's go ahead. After around 89-90 years, only they are the blacks are getting their freedom. Now, dispossession of Native Americans. Again, when we speak about Americans, we are only speaking about the white people in America. The Native Americans, the Red Indians are all not in this picture or scheme of the Constitution we are discussing. Exclusion of, again, women rights. They are only after 140 plus years, women are getting equal rights. There was no equality for women. Only in 1920s, women are getting equal rights in America. And deep class divisions, which even continues to today. The polarization and class divisions in America. So that's being continued till today. So these are some of the, even though we proclaim American Revolution as some of the greatest achievement in evolution of human history, it was not complete in itself. It takes a lot of years to reach the actual idea that is propounded in this Bill of Rights to actually reach even a certain level of acceptance. It took even 150 plus years beyond this. So this is again, there were articles written on this. This is again a test of a country's evolution. We speak about India. India has in 1950 we have our constitution being adopted, but we have so much of noble ideas in fundamental rights, equality, fraternity, all these great ideas. Then we have a lot of ideas in DPSP. But do we really have a country that truly respects fundamental rights or DPSPs? No, we are still limited by a lot of setbacks, a lot of divisions within the society on caste basis, on region basis, on gender basis, and whatnot. So it may take a lot more years beyond just implementation of the constitution to actually institutionalize the vision put forward by these founding fathers of the nation. So this is again a contrasting debate that is going on. We will discuss further on this on the upcoming slides. Yeah, so we again two more articles on the same topic. We have in short taken what is required. We are not discussing it completely. C. Rajamohan's perspective. That means he divides the evolution of world after this industrial revolution into 4 different phases. So this you can use to practically understand the upcoming developments and its geopolitical implications in a much better way. The first phase of industrial revolution, that is industrial capitalism. What it led to, like one side there was accumulation of wealth, and what exactly it is, use of machine power instead of human labor, especially steam engines were replaced the human labor, and this led to wealth accumulation on one side and slums of people living in extreme poverty and extreme situations on the other side. So this was the first phase of industrialism. Now what is the collective gain out of this? That is productivity gone up. So after a while, when productivity gone up, we can produce more goods and services, and this got distributed, and this give more power to the state, and this give more power to wealth distribution. There has been this accumulated wealth with time got distributed, and overall welfare of the people increased. This was the first stage of, you can say, industrialization. The second stage, that is Fordism and scientific management. That what exactly this is like division of a complete manufacturing process into bit by bit. Like one person will be manufacturing only the tire, the other person will be manufacturing only the steering, the other person will be manufacturing only the seat. Likewise it will be continued, and in this, after going through the chain, the whole product will be produced. So this again, from man to machine, the machine to factory, that was the development. And in factory again, productivity, you can see much more higher number of goods can be produced by incorporating these procedures. Then in the third phase, we have seen a phase of globalized capitalism. What is globalized capitalism? Where we can see these MNCs developing, multinational companies which have base in USA or some European countries. They but control their markets, their raw materials, their manpower, their energy. All this will be distributed throughout the world in different parts of the world. For example, the cocoa, which may not be taken from Ghana, it may be processed in Switzerland, and it may be marketed in India. So there is a chain of global companies that has came up with the globalization. The core idea of globalization, what is it? Efficiency. Wherever it is efficiency, the capital to flow to that places. So that was the core crux of capitalism. Now, in today's phase, what we are seeing today, we are moving again from capitalism to the next phase, that is techno-capitalism. That means all these raw materials, all these finished products, that has become little less important. Today, what is important is technology related aspects. And what technology? Mostly artificial intelligence, chips, and advanced technology related aspects. Now, these are the fundamental questions that is like where the major fight or conflict of idea is happening today. Who owns the machines? Especially you can think in terms of the AI models. Who owns these models? Do the companies really own this? Like ChatGPT or this Claude, do they really own these models? or do state has a power in India? We have discussed yesterday, the US is gatekeeping certain models like Fable, like Mythos. So do state has a control, or do the state control this, or do the company control this, or do which state control this state like US, which countries have these powers, or state like India which doesn't have AI capabilities, how they are placed, how they are going to exercise their monopoly or control over their sovereign data and other aspects. So who own machines? That is one conflict that is happening in the world. The second one, how should the new productivity and wealth be distributed? I will cite one dialogue by Elon Musk where he says that we are entering or almost entered a new phase of history where we don't need everyone to work. Only a few 10% of the people of the world should work, and this will produce as much of wealth or goods and services that is enough to sustain 100% of the population. So in this context, this is an ideal situation, but the economic consequences or short-term consequences of this is mass unemployment. And it is in this context where, just give me a second. Yeah, it is in this context where the concepts like universal basics income or the state support, all this becomes very, very much more important in the upcoming ages. What are capital's social obligations in a post-labor economy? Again, capital is not just about wealth accumulation. Capital also should have some human elements, some social elements in the future, in going ahead in the future, and how this is going to be tackled. So all these three major questions that the world is contesting today, the world is fighting today. This is being discussed in the C. Mohan article. Now, one more article related to this that is written by Pratap Bhanu Mehta, America's Paradox, Freedom versus Power. Again, he discussed a lot of theoretical concepts from international relations on definition of idea, definition of America. Again, the one crux out of this is dualism of American freedom. When we speak about America, we speak about freedom. Now, this freedom has different meaning inside America and different meaning outside America. For example, inside America, this is a creative impulse, creative impulse. It is this freedom which led to the developments, new technology where AI is developing. It is in America. Where all the major technologies, a huge chunk of technologies are being developed in America, and all this wealth generation where these mega companies are being formed, all these are formed US based companies. So why this is happening? Because of the creative impulse that is having within United States, the freedom to pursue people's happiness, the freedom to pursue different avenues, all this due to this freedom or the idea of freedom inside America that is being reflected in the technological development and advancements. But the freedom take a completely different stance when it moves to outside America. Outside America, America becomes a rude power, an imperial power. This you can see in policies in West Asia, policies of war in Iran, Iraq, in Russian policies, where there is no value to the idea of essential idea of freedom, where the value is only reserved to American interest. American interest. So this is one major concept explained by Pratap Bhanu Mehta. Then there is a concept of geopolitical exceptionalism. What it says is throughout the history, if you look, America always remained a superpower or a country with potential to superpower. And there was no real threat to America, even during the Cold War period where the USA and USSR were at loggerheads. Even during that time, USSR was not economically any competition to America. But in current situation, we are for the first time, US is finding a real threat from China. And China is potentially threatening economical might of US. So this is being explained through the concept of geopolitical exceptionalism. Threat to American power. The third point, again, this we have discussed. The original burden. Again, Pratap Bhanu Mehta says that even though China is there, even though the setbacks in other policies of America, outside American policies or the imperial American policies in other parts of the world, all these are a problem. The real burden of the America or the real threat to America is not coming from the outside, it is coming from the inside. That is the race problem that is still not continued, still not solved. The vision that is envisaged in this 1776 Bill of Rights 250 years before, it's still not materialized. There is still the problem of polarization within America, and there is still increasing problem of inequality in America, and this collectively is called as a slowly evolving constitutional problem, constitutional crisis in America. And this is, according to Pratap Bhanu Mehta, the biggest challenge America is facing currently, and it is not the setbacks or the challenges that coming from the outside. Yeah, that's it. Going ahead, going to the second article of the day, that is three-language formula, India's new classroom rule. Again, this is in a broader picture. This article has bigger ideas or bigger concerns. The bigger question this article is asking: who should decide what your student should learn? Who has the capacity to decide what all languages your student should study? This is the broader question, that is underlying question in throughout this article discussion or this issue that is being raised recently. So what is the core issue? CBSE has mandated new educational policy 2020's three-language formula from class 6 effectively academic year 26-27. Now, what is the strict conditions within this two-language formula? Two of the three languages must be Indian. Two of the three languages must be Indian. Then it applies from class 6, then class 7, class 8, class 9, starting from 26-27. Now the problem here is, I'll discuss it in the next slide. The old formula which we were following so far was the 1968 formula framework. Now under this framework, Hindi was there, which is an Indian language, and English was there, and some other languages will be there, be it Sanskrit, be it some other languages. Now, if you look at these, in some schools, it will be French, German, and some schools Sanskrit, regional languages like Malayalam or Tamil, and so on and so forth. So this is a foreign language, and here there is a freedom of taking a foreign or local language or regional language. Now, this English was considered as a foreign language, and one of the other beauty of 1968 framework was it was flexible. It was not very strictly implemented. So Tamil Nadu, who has opposition for Hindi implementation, they never implemented Hindi, and it still carried on. But when we come to this National Education Policy 2020, the problem is strict implementation. The government has issued orders regarding this, and the government is saying the first 2-3 languages, out of this 3 can be a foreign language. That means an English is considered as a foreign language. So English automatically takes the position at number 3, and 1 and 2 should be an Indian language. Mostly out of 22 languages in 8th schedule, plus some other languages also is permitted. Now out of this, if you look at this, 1 can be Hindi, and this cannot be French, German, or other such languages. Now, this strict implementation of this formula has created a lot of issues, like administrative hurdles. Lot of schools which were specialized in French, German, they are facing struggles. Now, they cannot English cannot be avoided at many places. Hindi or regional mother tongue language cannot be avoided. So, they are forced to leave this language and take up some Indian language. Now, if they are taking up some Indian language, there is shortage of teachers. There is shortage of capacity. There is a lot of other administrative issues. Now, to circumvent this, many schools or many regions, what is they doing? They are adopting Sanskrit. Now, the problem with adopting Sanskrit is many parents, many communities are raising is there is least economic potential of learning Sanskrit, or there is least social good of learning Sanskrit. Like learning French or German, there can be an options for future growth or future schooling, future employment opportunities, future migration opportunities. But Sanskrit doesn't have even learning a regional languages, which has a huge community that is in India speaking that language is much better than learning Sanskrit. Again, it lead to diplomatic and economic friction, especially we are coming into with the different agreements with different European countries like Indo-German skilled labor roadmap, which all speaks about promoting German language in India. On one side, we are speaking about promoting this. On the other side, we are curtailing options to teaching of these languages in our schools. So these are some state level issues. Tamil Nadu, again, it's historic two language policy where it teaches Tamil as well as English, and it doesn't teach us Hindi. Now this is going to be becoming a political issue in the near future. Let's see how this evolves. Kerala, Telangana, there are different schools in Kerala due to these Arab connections, which teaches Arab language, and this school is again Arab is a foreign language. So either you take English or Arab, and in this fight, English also always win. So again, there is a conflict. Telangana or Kerala, another allied schools where French, German is being taught, they are also facing the heat. Uttar Pradesh, they have rolled out these southern languages in their schools. That's a very symbolic policy, but the problem is in implementation. There is no enough teachers, there is no enough manpower to proper implementation of this, and practical application of this has been dropped in practical sense. Nagaland, which is where 30 plus school distinct linguistic communities are there, and due to the administrative issues, they are by default adopting Sanskrit as a language. Again, Sanskrit has no real cultural background or basis in Northeast or Nagaland, and still they are adopting just because of to fall in line with this policy mandate. So again, this is going to be a lot of problem. Again, the bigger question that is coming up is who should decide what your children study? Is it the state? Is it the center? Is it the culture? Or what should be the basis for this? And can a country like India adopt a very strict framework for what the students or what its children should study? Broader debates, that is centralization versus diversity, where NEP's policy directly look at centralization. The already existing flexibilities are being curtailed and the powers of state governments are being curtailed. So this is always all going to be a federal conflict. Even though education comes in concurrent list, this is going to, it may go to court, it may go to other areas of political and other conflicts. Concurrent list friction, capacity deficit, always all this we have discussed. Going into the last article of the day, why India is rebuilding its struggling tiger reserves. Yeah, so here what is happening is beyond numbers game, that is the core crux of this article. That means again, as numbers I have told, we in 2006 we have only 1411 tigers. In 2022 the numbers have increased more than 2 times to 3682 tigers. It's a promising growth with an annual growth rate of 6%. And earlier we have only say 9 tiger reserves in 19 when the program was launched. Now we have 58 tiger reserves, again a huge number, a very promising number. So even though all these looks very mathematically looks very good, there are underlying issues behind these numbers. That is what this article is saying. Now what are these issues? Major issue is overcrowding at some places. Like if you look at the map of India, at some places the tigers are overcrowded, and at some places there are no tigers. There are 12 reserves with fewer than 3 tigers, and there are 3 tiger reserves with 0 tigers in there. 12 tiger reserves with less than 3 tiger. So this is the situation where we have seen many tiger reserves like Corbett, Bandipur, Kaziranka, where the bearing capacity, the number is increased more than the bearing capacity. Now what is the problem with having numbers more than bearing capacity? Then these tigers will fall out from the forest to the neighboring areas, and neighboring areas will be in human occupation, and there is going to be broader or increased human wildlife conflicts. So this is the major crux of this article. Then how it is going to solve this issue? That is by coming up with a broader assessment framework, assessment index. That is, just don't look at the number. When you are looking at the conservation status, you should look at a lot of other factors like the habitat quality, prey abundance, tiger occupancy, the current tiger occupancy. So beyond just numbers, we should incorporate all these elements also into this reservation progress when we are assessing it. Priority interventions, 25 tiger reserves has been flagged as stressed, and some special priority based interventions will be done in these. Targeted reintroductions, again tiger reintroduction projects has been restarted, and a lot of these tigers reserves where there is no tiger or less tigers will be relocated from surplus to sink tiger reserves. Regional focus will be the landscape connectivity will be improved. Yeah, some of the examples, Sariska and Panna, where we have successfully relocated tigers. In both these tiger reserves in 2010s or early 2000s, or we have seen the last tiger being hunted or died. And after that, there has been relocation done and it has been successful. There are some areas where the relocation was not successful, Satkosia. And one of the major reasons why this was not successful is because the rejection by local communities. And there was a problem with livestock and predation. So if you want the tiger relocation to be successful, you need to look at this broader assessment index and not just limitedly look at the numbers. So this is the broader framework the essay or the article is discussing. So the key ideas is shift goal, build and strengthen capacity, and bring communities in. Without community cooperation, there is no way to success the relocation or other wildlife conservation projects. So that's it for the day. 3 articles we have discussed from American Independence, National Education Policy, and third this environmental related article. Hope you got the best of it. The PDF of this file will be uploaded in the Telegram channel, Daily News Analysis. So do follow, like, and it will be better if you find it helpful, do subscribe the channel. On that note, we will end up today's session. See you tomorrow. All the best.